Right now, some help for your back. We're going to be speaking to a senior osteopath from the Iffley Turn Practice. We've got advice for you about avoiding strains and injuries when working from home. Many of you will be doing that. Others will be taking the opportunity to do extra DIY or gardening, and that all has an impact at a time when we can't actually go and visit an osteopath or a chiropractor. So let's hear from Tom Bedford. I've been talking to him about how we should look after ourselves when, for example, we're using, if we're lucky, a kitchen table instead of a workstation.
Yeah, absolutely. These are extraordinary times, and there are thousands of people across Oxfordshire now working in spare bedrooms, kitchens, sitting rooms that aren't ergonomically set up for computer work. And this means people potentially sitting on sofas and beds as well, exercising less, and all of those things increase the risk of those people developing low back pain.
And of course, you are unable to help them out because you can't see people face to face just at the moment. So this is more difficult.
Again, it's very as an osteopath. I work at the Iffley Turn Practice in Oxford. We're used to seeing hundreds of patients a week and treating them with our hands. Now, you can't treat people with your hands and do the social distancing, keeping it 2 meters from people. So unfortunately, we've had to close. So we are offering some online support and advice, but it is a remarkable and frustrating time. And I think we also need to factor in the stress levels as well.
Yeah.
Stress is an important contributor to people getting sort of back pain, neck pain, and shoulder pain as well. So not only are people exercising less, they're under great stress, and they're in less than perfect working environments. So really, it's a recipe for a lot of back pain, unfortunately. And I'm sure when we do open, hopefully in the near future, there will be a lot of people needing the services of osteopaths, chiropractors, and physios.
My visits to people, the sort of people that you've just been mentioning, date back to the 1990 World Cup, where my friend jumped on my back to celebrate a goal he thought had been scored by Stuart Pearce. Only I knew it was an indirect free kick and he'd taken it direct, so it didn't count. So there he was in the pub, jumping on the back of my back, and he's never been the same since. But what my visits to chiropractors and osteopaths over the years have told me is often prevention is better than cure. You might say, come to us in the way that you go to the dentist. Of course, that isn't available at the moment. So in terms of prevention, in the circumstances that you've outlined, what can people do?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's look at a few things, and I'd like to look at sort of chairs and screens first. And I guess I should say at the beginning, I'm sort of assuming that people working from home are doing computer-based work. If you're a swimming pool attendant and you're working from home, something's gone terribly wrong.
It's rained a lot, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So let's look at what some practical tips that people can do when they're at home using computers. And the first thing to say, talking about chairs, is don't work on a sofa or a bed. They're too soft. They won't provide back support. They might be cosy, it might be comfortable, but really you need to be on something that is slightly more supportive. Ideally, you'd have an adjustable office chair, but lots of people won't. They might be too expensive or they don't have room for them. So in that case, use a dining chair and put a cushion or a rolled-up towel in the small of your back for extra support. Or even go online and buy an inflatable lumbar support for your low back. And when you are sitting, and you might like this, Jerome, think BBC, bum back in chair. So when you're sitting, get your bum to the back of the chair so there's a little bit of an arch in your back so you're nice and upright. You don't want to be slouching at 45 degrees so there's some space right in the small of your back. You need something there.
Of course, right now, even though I am in the radio studio, I'm clearly not completely adjusting the way I sit because I'm talking to you.
You're moving as I speak to you,
Yeah.
Jerome. So, across Oxfordshire, people are now sitting up slightly better.
Absolutely.
Of course, if you, some people may not have anything appropriate for chairs, but actually doing some work standing up, I think, is actually the future. Adjustable desks and standing desks are fantastic things, and the prices have come down in recent years due to demand. We have one of our receptionists at Iffley Turn Practice, and they love it. They spend about a third of their time standing. And they sort of alternate periods of sitting and standing, which again uses different muscles and reduces the risk of back pain. Now, you might not have a standing desk at home, but you could use a shelf or a chest of drawers that's at the right kind of height to put your laptop on there. But the most important thing with laptops is to try and separate the screen screen and the keyboard. Laptops are wonderfully portable, but it's very hard to do a long period of work without getting kind of hunched. So if you can pop your laptop onto a pile of books or a box and then get a separate plug-in keyboard, fantastic. You separate the keyboard and the screen and give you a bit of space to sit up into.
All good stuff, and I suppose, maybe is it fair to say that varying, if you can't, particularly if you don't have some of the objects that you were talking about, varying the way you work might help? Yeah,
definitely. The movement is medicine, and all the evidence shows that people are active and they vary their position, they will get less pain. So if you are working at home, one of the other challenges, there aren't things to sort of remind you to take regular breaks. So, set a timer on your watch or your computer. So after 45 minutes, remind you 45 minutes has passed. And then you can go and do some stretching just for 5 minutes, or start working standing up for the next period of 45 minutes, and then do another 45 minutes sitting down. We've evolved to sort of hunter-gatherer, to be moving all of the time. So actually, computer work itself is quite alien to us. So it is important we take these steps to try and reduce our risks of back pain, neck pain, and shoulder pain.
Actually, Tom, make like you're in the office. Make like you're going to the the water cooler or the kettle or whatever. And change it up in that way.
Absolutely. And one advantage of drinking lots of water, you've got to go to the toilet regularly. Look, great, that's movement. It gets you away from the work desk. You've got to get the balance right. Clearly, you have work to do. You're being paid to work, but you can't just be that sort of model where you come in at 9 o'clock in the morning and you focus on your screen, and suddenly it's 1 o'clock. And time is going to be stationary for you. That's fantastic for your employer, but terrible for your back, actually. And you should be taking breaks. And anything you can sort of do to remind yourself to get up and move around, so much the better. It's also about listening to your body, Jerome. If you're tense and you're getting pain or pins and needles, that's your body telling you to change your posture. You've been sitting too long. You need to find ways to support the body so the muscles can relax a little bit.
All good advice. So that's what a lot of people are doing, working from home when they wouldn't be otherwise. But we're all at home for much longer periods, trying to find things to do, trying to take the opportunities that are presenting themselves to us that we might not have had time-wise, like sorting out the house, sorting out the garden, trying to keep things moving that way. Have you got any advice for people that are suddenly doing more DIY or gardening than they might otherwise be doing?
Yeah, well, I'm very familiar with the gardening situation. I've had an allotment for 15 years, so I'm familiar with the joys of growing plants and vegetables, but also the pain of digging. And I think particularly the challenge with gardening is it's seasonal. So nothing really happens from about late October, November until about March. So you have nearly half the year where it's all very quiet. And then suddenly it all goes mad in the spring, and people throw themselves into their garden allotment and spend hours and hours digging. And we certainly found the Iffley Turn Practice that after the first warm weekend in March or April, on the Monday morning after that, our phone would be melting with incoming calls from people who had spent all weekend in the garden, having done nothing for 3 or 4 months, and then woken up in great pain, unable to move on the Monday morning. And you wouldn't, having done nothing for 3 or 4 months, you then wouldn't go to a gym, say, and suddenly do 5 hours of intensive exercise without warming up. But really, if you throw yourself into your garden or allotment without warming up and do a massive span of time like that, that's going to be tough on your back muscles. And it's no great surprise that some people are getting pain like that. So the solution to this is, again, break it up into short chunks, particularly something that's quite strong and powerful like digging, which is quite a strain on the back muscles. I would say don't dig a weed for more than half an hour at a time. Use a timer again on your watch or your phone. And during that half an hour, every 5 minutes, just stand up and arch your back backwards a few times. Because digging, gardening, it's all forward bending. And unless you're really used to doing that, it's going to increase your risk of back pain.
There'll be people in the garden right now listening to this think, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And DIY, I mean, apart from don't do it, which would be my advice, I know that's... I've been hearing anecdotally that last weekend, Easter weekend, there were lots of people ending up at A&E, which is the last place they want to be at the best of times, never mind now, because of the DIY option that was available to them. And I guess some of those might have been back related. What can you tell us about that?
So again, just consider what you're going to be doing. So it's quite common as osteopaths for us to see people who have strained their necks and shoulders painting, particularly painting ceilings. because stand back, look at the task and think, how am I actually going to use my body to do this? You might lie in bed and think, oh, the ceiling's looking a bit tatty. I'll paint it this afternoon because I'm furloughed and there's nothing else to do. But if that's going to involve you looking up for 5 or 6 hours at a time, then that's got to be, again, something that's broken down into shorter chunks with breaks. And again, in those breaks, for example, if you're painting the ceiling and looking up, spend some time looking down, move your shoulders. Use online facilities as well. There's online stretches on our website at iffleyturnpractice.co.uk, and there's other online resources available as well. Stretch out those muscles and to prevent straining certain muscle groups.
Tom, when this is over and you are able to open up at Iffley Turn again, I suspect you're going to be very busy. But thank you for maybe flattening the curve as far as back pain is concerned, by maybe preventing some of the problems arising. But you know you're going to have a long waiting list when you open, don't you?
Jerome, it's been a pleasure. And if I could ask one small favour, it's my wedding anniversary today. And if I could give a shout-out to my beautiful wife, Samara, and say happy wedding anniversary. And I hope this shout-out will negate some of the problems from not having a card or a present this morning.
Well, congratulations to both of you. And at least you're together at this point, you know. Try and look on the bright side.
Thank you, Jerome. Stay safe.
Well done, Tom and Samara. And this is BBC Radio Oxford, and it's 5 to 4. Iffleyturnpractice.co.uk for some of those online resources that he was talking about there. Iffleyturnpractice.co.uk. And if you have anything that you can help with around your community, you want to pass on some advice or some thanks, our email address, makeadifferenceoxfordshire@bbc.co.uk, or you can call us 0808 100 9100.